Hello, and welcome back to the Season Watch podcast. My name is Sarah Mitchell. I'm your host, and this month we're going to try something a little bit different. It's the wonderful month of July. Things are really busy, lots of changes happening, and so I thought I might try to split the podcast up into 4 parts, one for each of the weeks. So let me know what you think of the new format, whether you like it, whether you'd prefer just to have all of your phrenology in one big old 45-minute batch, whether maybe you'd rather have it split up by category. So all of the driving stuff gets into one podcast, the forest stuff gets into another, water gets into another one. Let me know what you think, as always. I'm interested in your feedback. But yeah, we'll get started. So first of all, I wanted to talk about what to look for when you are driving around in Minnesota this July. And one of the more dynamic forbs, so not a shrub, not a tree, not a woody plant, but a forb, is the cow parsnip. Now, it grows to 10 feet tall, so it's pretty impressive for a forb to grow to that height. And it grows these huge like dinner-sized discs of white flowers. So lots of tiny little flowers, but arranged in a disc, kind of like a yarrow. I always need to look that one up to say it right. But a similar kind of setup to a yarrow, but way, way bigger. The stems can be as much as 2 inches around. So that's a really cool one to look for on the roadsides as you're driving. And then another one would be all of the really gorgeous wildflowers, especially if you're driving past a prairie. Look for the butterfly milkweed. It's this bright, vibrant orange color, very distinctive, especially in early July and late June. Then while you're out walking, I think, for me at least, I'm a beginner birder. I'm not even close to an intermediate birder. I'm just starting out. And July is kind of nice because the bird song slows down a little bit. And with fewer birds to listen to, it's easier for me to start picking up individual birds and identifying those individual species. So I think this is kind of a good time, especially for beginners, to start tuning in a little bit more and trying to really crack down on learning some of those more common bird calls. It's also, all of the young birds are coming out of the nest, and you get to actually see them out there flapping their little wings, begging their parents for food. They're goofy, they're fun to watch, and that's one of my favorite parts of July, is just seeing those youngins figuring out the ways of the world and harassing their parents and siblings for food. Just makes me smile. And on the water, you'll be able to see hopefully some loon chicks riding around on their parents' backs, and also starting to learn some of the ways of the world, watching, their parents start feeding them. I hope you will be hearing the kind of banjo-like call of the green frog. It sounds like a loose banjo string. A lot of people get it messed up with the bullfrog, which actually is not found in northern Minnesota, just the green frog. So that's a really good one and a very distinctive one to listen to. I'll try to put in a audio clip of it into the podcast. And then in the open, again, prairies are just full of wildflowers right now. The black-eyed Susans are starting to come out, all of the milkweeds, and with those come a lot of pollinators. So keep a sharp eye out both for bees. I took a native bee identification class last year with the Xerces Society, Xerces. It's a Greek word. And it was fascinating. I thought I knew things about bees, and it turns out I know nothing about bees, and that is so much fun to know. There are always new things to learn, but I had no idea how much there was to learn about bees specifically. We have over 500 species of native bees in Minnesota alone. And then there are all of the bee mimics. We have flies that mimic bees. Fun fact, the way you can tell the difference is flies have big ol' eyeballs and bees do not. And then their antennae are a little bit different. There are wasps that mimic bees, and wasps have generally tiny little waists. Bees normally do not. But yeah, that's a whole fascinating field that I hardly knew existed. Um, so yeah, definitely get out there, look at those wildflowers, and look at all the critters that are pollinating them. If you are interested in learning more about bees, the Minnesota Bee Atlas is a project on iNaturalist that's really good. And there are a bajillion resources, bajillion being the technical term, through the Xerces Society, and then the University of Minnesota Bee Lab is another great resource. So keep an eye out for those. In the forest is a really cute little wildflower. Normally I think of wildflowers in the forest pretty much as spring ephemerals, and then it kind of dies down for the summer. But the twin flower is one that blooms in July, and it has a singular stem and then that splits into two, and then two little flowers come off, and they're kind of bell-shaped. They kind of remind me of a harebell in shape. They look like shower heads, but it's this very delicate little wildflower, and you can recognize it by those distinctive paired twin flowers. In town, what I would look for are the house wrens. These are very busy but small birds, and they really like to chatter. They are birds you're very likely to find in a bird feeder, or in a birdhouse. They really like the same kind of house that chickadees would like. But I have been watching a little house wren family coming in and out and feeding its chicks quite a bit, and they stuff those little nest boxes so full of twigs. It's amazing that they fit in there. But those are just great birds to watch. I am still hard at work trying to learn their call. It's very fast. Bird songs are hard for me, but I'll get there. That's okay. And I'm excited to see those babies fledge. I'm hoping they won't fledge while I'm out of town, but we'll see. So that does it for the first week of July. Let me know what you think of this kind of speed run style podcast. I'm excited to hear what you think, and please send me questions. I really like digging into, some of those listener questions are highlights of my week. So please let me know. And as always, this program is brought to you by the Minnesota Environment and Natural Resources Trust Fund and our friends at Happy Dancing Turtle. So thank you to both of them. In the podcast, any audio that I add in is courtesy of Laura Erickson, who's a wonderful birder, KAXE contributor. A wasp just landed on my computer. Hi, wasp. And then I also pulled some recordings off of iNaturalist. So have a great first week of July, and I will talk to you soon. Thank you.